Okay, so have you ever like gotten stuck in that loop where you know you're reaching for that sugary snack to try and get like a quick energy boost,
Mm.
and then an hour later you just end up crashing even harder? Like,
Mm.
is that inevitable,
Yeah.
or is there a way that we can kind of fundamentally change that experience with maybe even a simple dietary shift?
That's such a great question, and that's really what we're going to be talking about
Yeah.
today.
Okay, cool.
We're diving into what happens when someone actually decides to just significantly reduce or eliminate added sugar in their diet.
Okay.
And we'll also be exploring all the foods that are naturally super low in carbs and sugar.
All right, so not getting bogged down in all the details of like the science and all that.
Yeah.
More like, what are some of the surprising things that happen?
Right, the aha moments.
Yeah, exactly. The actionable insights.
Totally.
Okay, so let's unpack this. Like,
Yeah.
what happens initially when you cut back on sugar? What are some of the first things people might experience?
So in the beginning, it's kind of common for people to go through like an adjustment period.
Right.
Their body's just kind of adapting to this new way of eating.
Yeah.
And some people might struggle initially,
Okay.
but relatively quickly, people start to notice changes in their energy levels.
So you're saying that reducing sugar could actually lead to more sustained energy, because I
Right.
think a lot of people think that they grab that sugary treat to get energy.
Exactly. And that's what's so fascinating about this
Right.
is that you have that like sugar rush and then the crash.
Yeah.
And so it's a completely different experience from the more stable energy you can get when you limit your sugar intake.
Yeah.
Because think about it, when you eat something super sugary,
Yeah.
your blood glucose spikes way up
Right.
and then it just plummets back down.
Yeah, that's the crash
Exactly, that's the crash.
you're describing.
And so when you cut back on sugar, your body's not relying on those quick bursts of energy.
Right.
Instead, it's starting to tap into other sources that provide like a more consistent flow.
So it's more like you're saying like a steady current
Totally.
versus like that jolt of lightning.
Yes, exactly.
And what about mood, right? Because I think we all know
Yeah.
that sugar can kind of feel like it gives you a little lift, but
For sure, but it's fleeting.
right, exactly.
And that temporary lift is also tied to your blood sugar going up and down.
Okay.
Because when your blood sugar spikes,
Yeah.
it triggers your brain to release dopamine,
Okay.
which is like that feel-good chemical,
Yeah.
but that feeling doesn't last. And when your blood sugar drops, you can actually start to feel
Oh, so it kind of backfires.
it totally, you might feel irritable or anxious
Right.
or just kind of down.
So it's like a double whammy.
It is. And the good news is that by cutting back on sugar,
Right.
you can stabilize your blood sugar,
Mhm.
and that can lead to more stable moods throughout the day.
Wow, that's amazing. Okay, so we've talked about some of those initial adjustments,
Yeah.
but what about the long term? What are some of the transformations that might happen over time if someone sticks with this?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Like, what about weight management? Because I think that's something that a lot of people...
Yeah, for sure. I mean, one of the major things is that when you cut back on added sugar,
Right.
you're often reducing your overall calorie intake because a lot of those sugary foods and drinks are loaded with calorie.
Right, and they don't really offer
Exactly. Not a lot of nutritional value.
much else.
Yeah, so by cutting those out, you're naturally consuming fewer calories.
Okay.
But it goes deeper than that too, because the way your body processes sugar can actually impact how much fat you store.
Really?
So when you reduce your sugar intake, you're essentially shifting your metabolism in a direction that's going to help you manage your weight more effectively over time.
Interesting. And we often hear about sugar and skin health. Is there a real connection there?
You know, while the information we're looking at doesn't get into like specific skin conditions,
Okay.
there is a tie to inflammation in general.
Right.
And high sugar intake can contribute to chronic low-grade inflammation throughout your whole body.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And we know that inflammation can show up in skin issues.
Right.
So indirectly, by reducing sugar, you might start to see positive changes in your skin as part of a more balanced internal environment.
That makes sense. So it's kind of an indirect link, but still there.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so beyond weight and maybe skin, what other internal shifts might be happening in terms of our overall metabolic health?
This is where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
Because if you're constantly consuming a lot of sugar,
Yeah.
it can really challenge your body's ability to regulate your blood sugar effectively.
Right.
Over time, this can lead to problems with insulin sensitivity
Okay.
and your overall metabolic function, which is basically how your body processes energy.
Right.
By reducing sugar, you're helping to stabilize your blood sugar.
Right.
And that is absolutely crucial for supporting your metabolic health in the long run.
So it's not just about avoiding that immediate dip in energy. It's really setting the stage for better health down the road. Okay, so you mentioned glucose regulation earlier. Can you explain a little more about those blood sugar spikes and why we want to minimize them?
Yeah, so the thing about those big glucose spikes is it's not just about the immediate rush and crash.
Right.
Over time, those frequent and dramatic spikes can put a lot of stress on your body's systems.
The systems that are regulating.
Exactly. The ones that are working hard to manage your blood sugar, and that can contribute to some serious health issues down the line.
So what are some like practical tips or hacks that people can use to kind of keep their glucose levels more even?
Great question, and there are actually some really simple things you can do.
Okay.
One of the most important is the timing and combination of your meals.
Okay.
So, for example, if you eat carbs with protein and healthy fats,
Right.
it slows down how quickly that glucose gets absorbed into your bloodstream.
So it's a more
It's a much more gradual rise.
gradual.
Exactly.
Okay.
And believe it or not, even the order in which you eat your food can have an impact. Yeah, some research suggests that if you eat your fiber and protein before your carbs,
Right.
it can actually help to reduce that glucose spike.
Interesting.
And then another simple thing you can do is just take a short walk after you eat.
Oh, okay.
Because when your muscles are active,
Yeah.
they use up glucose, which can help to prevent that sharp spike.
So it's like you're giving it somewhere to go.
Exactly.
Okay, awesome. So we've talked a lot about reducing sugar.
Right.
Let's shift gears and talk about foods that are naturally low in carbs and sugar that we can add to our diets. What are some of those?
Oh, there are so many delicious options once you start looking beyond the processed and sugary stuff.
Okay.
So first, think about non-starchy vegetables like leafy greens, broccoli, cauliflower,
Okay.
bell peppers, cucumbers. All those are packed with vitamins, minerals, fiber,
Right.
and they're naturally very low in both carbs and sugar.
So load up on those veggies.
Absolutely.
What else?
Healthy fats are key too, so things like avocados, nuts, seeds, olive oil. All of those provide those essential nutrients and healthy fats without any added sugar.
Okay.
And then, of course, you have your protein sources, meat, poultry, fish, eggs,
Right.
all naturally low in carbs and sugar and super important for feeling full and maintaining your muscles.
Okay.
And, even some dairy products like plain Greek yogurt can be a good option.
Okay.
It's relatively low in sugar compared to the flavored kinds,
Right.
and it's a great source of protein.
So it sounds like there's actually a lot of variety out there.
There really is.
It's not just like salads all the time.
Not at all. It's all about focusing on whole, unprocessed foods.
Okay.
And when you build your meals around those naturally low-carb, low-sugar choices,
Yeah.
you're not only avoiding the negative effects of added sugar,
Right.
but you're also giving your body all the nutrients it needs.
And
So,
sugar.
and you can still have amazing, flavorful meals.
You're saying by
Just
focusing on these groups.
It's all about being creative and experimenting.
Okay, so let's kind of bring it all together.
Ah.
We talked about those initial reactions to cutting back on sugar,
Right.
the long-term benefits for weight, skin, and metabolic health.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about managing glucose spikes.
Right.
And we've uncovered this whole world of foods that are naturally low in carbs and sugar. So how does this all fit together for someone listening? What's the takeaway?
I think the biggest takeaway is that you have the power to make informed choices.
Okay.
When you understand how sugar impacts your body,
Right.
and you realize how many delicious alternatives are out there,
Yeah.
you gain so much control over your energy, your mood, and your overall well-being.
Okay.
Reducing added sugar and incorporating those naturally low-carb, low-sugar foods isn't about deprivation.
Right.
It's about making choices that support you,
Oh.
that give you sustained energy,
Yeah.
that help you feel more balanced emotionally,
Oh, that just help you thrive.
help you thrive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, I love that. So to quickly recap,
Yeah.
we saw that reducing sugar might have a bit of an adjustment period.
Yeah. But it can lead to more consistent energy,
Yes.
better mood,
For sure.
and in the long term
Mm-hmm.
can support healthy weight management,
Yes.
potentially benefit the skin, and improve metabolic function by keeping that blood sugar stable.
Absolutely.
We talked about how to manage those glucose spikes.
Yep.
And we discovered all these amazing foods that are naturally low in carbs and sugar.
We did.
So I think the question for everyone listening is, what's one small change you could make in your diet today that could have a ripple effect on your well-being?
Such a good question.
It could be something as simple as swapping out a sugary drink for water
Yeah.
or adding some protein to your afternoon snack.
Totally.
It's all about starting somewhere
It is.
and being curious about what works for you
Absolutely.
on your own journey to better health.
I love that.